Hey, Rebel Rouser. I'm Alan Voivod, and this is Star Wars 7x7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy. And thank you so much for joining me for it. So, as we were talking about in yesterday's episode, there are 3 episodes left in Star Wars Rebels after the last time that we see Ahsoka Tano. They are A Fool's Hope, Family Reunion, and Farewell. Those are episodes 14, 15, and 16 of Season 4 of Rebels. And I think the moment that we need to consider from these last 3 episodes, or at least the summary of the moments that we need to consider, starts from Ezra's realization of the lesson in A World Between Worlds, where he witnessed Kanan's final moments all over again, and Ahsoka said that he found the moment where he was needed the most and did what he had to do for everyone. Essentially, Ezra arrives at the same conclusion as he's thinking about the liberation of Lothal. He realizes that there are multiple paths to victory, or defeat for that matter, but that some of them may require his sacrifice, and he talks about that with Ahsoka, and just about how he is, he's bummed that his life involves this kind of choice, and it is reminiscent of the Lord of the Rings conversations where, Frodo's like, I wish this didn't have to be put on me, and Gandalf is saying, that's pretty much all of us feel that way, but some of us are just born to live in these times, and that's the way it is. And so he's reflecting on that while he's talking to images of his parents in these final episodes of Rebels as well. The choice he's confronted with comes in 2 phases. One of them is when Thrawn arrives back at Lothal, and Ezra and company realize that getting all the Imperials into the dome in order to blow it up, well, it was a fine idea, but unfortunately when Thrawn showed up, it just made him have a lot easier time bombarding Capital City and just, massacring innocent civilians and not having to worry about collateral damage. And the only way that Ezra can stop this is by surrendering. So that's part 1 of him doing the one thing that only he could do in order to save everyone else. Then while he's on the Chimera, Thrawn's ship, he has a hologram conversation with Emperor Palpatine, who basically tries to sell him on the idea of reopening the gateway somehow to the world between worlds, and saying that he'll be able to reunite with his parents again, which has been one of the pain points that Ezra has had this whole time. And Ezra is able to resist that temptation and destroy what is being rebuilt of the Jedi Temple, what Palpatine was able to salvage somehow. And then the backup plan comes into play when Ezra gets onto the bridge of the Chimera, and as he arrives there, or shortly thereafter, a pod of purgill show up and utterly decimate the 7th Fleet, grab a hold of the Chimera, and take it out into the great wild blue yonder. So that's Ezra's lesson, realizing that he was in a position to do the most possible good for the most amount of people, and that it might mean sacrificing himself in the process, and he, despite his fear, was able to do it. And I don't know about you, but that is one of the biggest mysteries in Star Wars that exists right now, is just what happened the moment they came out of hyperspace. Where were they? How far had they gone? What happened with their confrontation after that? Is it going to end up being like a weird sort of Star Trek Voyager situation where they're having to find their way back from deep in the unknown regions somehow? I do hope that story gets told. And, everything that we've been told so far is really from the point of view of Ahsoka and Sabine, and a little bit from, Thrawn's point of view as well. He seems to have somehow been separated from Ezra at some point, but we don't know how or why or when, but hopefully that will be part of the Ahsoka series storytelling as well. And that is going to close out our conversation about Star Wars Rebels and how it bears on the Ahsoka Tano series, and that is going to do it for this episode of the podcast. It just remains for me to say thank you so much for joining me for it as always, and may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.
7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited, or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.